everyone, this is Kelly, and I am here to do a little bit of an explanation of a project that I'm doing and then show how I process paper in and organize it because a friend asked me to do it. And because I've been putting a couple pictures up on my Instagram of page spreads, I've had a lot of people say, do a video on it, or what are you doing? Like, what is this project? And so I thought I'd just do a little intro project and then how I'm cutting paper down and how I'm organizing it, just so that, again, to help somebody else, but then also I thought it would let you know what was going on if you've been seeing things on my Instagram. I am doing some chat with me, making the pages, over on my Patreon, but every so often I will definitely do sort of a flip through of where I'm at in the book. Or again, I do share a lot of my page spreads. I do stick up on Instagram, so that's another place you can kind of see pages as I get done with them. But this project was inspired by Miss Larissa, who is on Bard's Lament, and my camera is right. My phone is, I'm using my phone to film this, which I don't normally do, so I can't get her. I always forget her homemade. Oh, always forget her Instagram name since she's changed it, and it just pops up on mine because I watch hers and I get notifications from hers, and so I haven't really needed to memorize it, I suppose is my point. So anyways, I will put it in the description below so you can follow hers. She makes all kinds of amazing grimoires, that's such a word, grimoires, sacred books, dream journals, all those kind of junk journals, however you want to call the sacred aspect of junk journals. And she was flipping through one of hers, one that was done and one that was she was set in the process of setting up. And I've always wanted to do something like this, but I was always feeling like I had to have all of the information ready to go in. Like if I was going to do a page on making my mojo water, I need to be ready to write everything in. If I was doing it on different herbs, I need to be ready to put write all the herbs in. And it was very overwhelming. But what she does is she preps a lot of pages and kind of just fills the book full of open sort of spaces, and then she can go in some of them she knows what she's going to use them for, and some of them are just creatively, she can then come in when she needs a page and find something that works for it and put it in the book. And I was like, oh my goodness, that frees me up to just kind of have the fun of making the pages, and then just fill in as I need the pages. So that was like a big aha moment. So definitely inspired by Miss Larissa. And then also my friend Patrick, every fall, we've talked about this, and every fall we come up with some sort of a journaling book project that doesn't generally, we made a book one year, we tried to do these art books, we've tried to do a couple different sort of like sacred informational books. And we always lose momentum because it just gets so overwhelming. So that's why I like this, because it's fun to actually make the pages, but then I can just go in as I need to fill them in with information. So it's like the best of both worlds. But anyways, I'm digressing. One of the years that we did it, he had made this wonderful page that I can't remember what it's for, if it was for lament or it was for holding space, whatever. He made this page in his book that was meant to function as a sacred space. So it had a place to put a specific crystal on it. It had a space to draw a card and lay the card on it. And so the spread itself became, a portable sacred space in a book. You would actually use those pages. So it was a combination of these two things, because as I've said, I haven't made a video about it, but as I've talked about in a couple of different chats and stuff like that, I'm currently in a liminal space where I'm living part-time, most of the time still in my apartment, but the postman, as he's lovingly called in live chats, and I are fixing it up and working on a cabin about 6.5 hours south of me. And so that's moving back and forth between two spaces is going to be for quite some time. Where it's going to be well into probably next year, before we'll spend eventually we'll spend most of the time at the cabins is the goal. But that's going to be quite some time for. So I know I'm going to be living in transitionary spaces for quite some time, and so. I really have in my apartment, while it's very small, I have I have set spaces for everything, and it works really well. And so when I'm in between spaces, I don't have those with me. I take some stuff with me, and I did a video on tools that I take, decks that I take, and and art supplies that I take, which is going to have to probably make room for a little bit of paper crafting. We'll have to see how that adjusts. But so I missed it. And then even when I was in here, I missed some of the energy that was from the forest and the woods, because when I'm here, I have sacred altar spaces. And when I'm at the cabin, my sacred space is the woods and the mountains. And so I wanted to be able to bring some of my sacred space to the mountains and bring some of the mountains back. And I also wanted a place for logs. I don't write like pages of diary, but like I would like to be able to jot just little notes, like I heard a pack of coyotes singing in the night, and while sitting on the porch, and kind of a little blurb about what that meant to me, or what that was about, or I saw a black bear today, or I saw XYZ. I wanted to place to be able to jot those things down, and keep those as sacred moments, because I believe everything is sacred, including washing your hands, if you're being mindful and present. And so this is a way to be present. So anyways, so it was a combination of Larissa's inspiration, that idea from Patrick, and the need to be able to I want to be able to sit outside on a blanket and open up to sacred space. So my vision for my vision for my book is that it will, which mostly is all sacred space pages right now, but my vision is that it's going to be a mix of naturalist notes. If I saw a particular plant, here's a couple of things of it, so on and so forth. If I saw a particular animal, note those things down. So like a naturalist's journal, a diary of sorts, right? A place to keep recipes and things like that, or different things that I do, so that I have those regardless of where I'm at. But then also that I can sit cross-legged on the porch, or sit cross-legged on a blanket out in the woods, and have access to sacred space right in front of me. So portable sacred space. Lots of babbling, huh? Somebody had sent me this years ago, on the cover of a Midori-sized traveler's journal, but I think I'm going to maybe layer it with another piece of black, and affix that right here, because I love this. So that's there. That's just sitting there waiting for that. So the book that I'm using was recommended by Miss Larissa. It's Lemome, Lemome. It has thicker paper than, I believe that I could be getting this wrong, but I usually use Leuchtturms. Those are 80 pounds, whereas this paper is 120 pound, and she has found it to hold up to, this kind of putting stuff on it the way that I'm going to be doing. So I went with her suggestion. It's a beautiful tree bark. It's like perfect. And so that's the book that I'm using. So I've started from the middle, because most of these are all of these are sacred spaces, and I wanted them to be able to open up well. So the last two that I did yesterday, so this is a kind of crystal spread. I put a picture of this up on my Instagram. This can work as a crystal grid. This is the crystal grid that I have on a plate that I had cut out with a vinyl. And I use this next to my reading space all of the time. It's always up. I always have some sort of grid going there. So this gives me access to doing this grid away from home, but it also can function as a pendulum board, with the full moon energy as yes, the new moon energy or dark moon as no, and then straight down the middle can be it's unknown or unclear, with a circling around those center, perhaps as maybe we'll see what's going on. So however you want to do that. So it can function as a grid and a pendulum board. And then this, I can lay cards out because I want to be able to use this to lay cards out as well. Or, I'm going to eventually put some kind of a list there. So this is one of my favorites. This is basically 2 pages of this paper. And then I cut out, and I'll talk about that probably in another video. I have a large Cricut, which cuts things out, but I did get a little Cricut. And so this cut this out, and then I put this over the top, and then of course the trees show through. These were 2 stickers so it's kind of 3D. I don't know if you can really see that, but I really like that effect here. So this evokes the forest. This, I put up a picture on my Instagram. This was my very first page, and I wasn't 100% happy with it, but it also taught me to just kind of let go a little bit. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. This is for casting runes on, or bones, or whatever I want to cast on it. I have a flip note, so I usually, for readings, I'll literally put the date and about a sentence of kind of what was the core meaning, so I can log there if I want. I did another little flap that has the rune meanings, just because I had this little card, so I kind of wanted to use it. But that's there. But it also, then when you open it up, it functions to be able to cast on it. It's fantastic. I have a mini set of runes. It casts really great on there. This is going to be activating. It's going to sort of encompass the energy of the whole book. I really should do this first, but I kind of wanted to get my foot under me, and I kind of have a feel now for what I'm going to do, so I'll be doing that eventually to sort of activate the whole sacred space of the book. And then I wanted to have for the seasons. So I did a very long ramble about making these pages on my Patreon. But until I decided, if I'm going to continue to do Create With Me, I'm going to have to get more focused. But regardless, this is for winter. I do work with 2 parts of winter. So I have sort of the more clarity of winter, and then the more feeling of full snow, even though those are birch trees. I am aware of that. This is for spring. This is actually my least favorite. No, I don't mind this one so much. These next 2 are my least favorites, but I think I'm gonna, zhuzh them up a little bit. And again, they're gonna probably end up with informational flaps and things like that. These are just sort of open spaces if I want to sit down and invoke the energy of spring, I can open up these pages, put a candle out on it, do whatever, write a sigil on a scrap of paper, pull some cards and lay them on it. But it's being used to invoke the energy of spring whenever I want, both where the snow is still on the ground in spring, all the way to sort of full bloom of spring. This is my least favorite. Somehow, I really like this, and this. This ended up to me looking more Victorian than I was looking for. But it's glued on pretty good. I don't know. I might see if I can pull it up, but I'm letting it sit for right now. But it's summer. And then I love this. This is winter. And you'll see there is a little sticker with gold accents of animal energy for each. There's a squirrel. There's a little hedgehog hiding beneath the flowers. There's a beautiful female deer. And there's a bear over here. So pulled in the animal energies. So that's what I have so far. I'm just kind of starting out on the project. And again, what I'm going to talk about now is sort of how I kind of organize everything, because it was asked of me. So, but I thought, I better do some kind of an intro here, because most people are going to be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm going to start here because I have a friend who is going to be starting a sacred book as well. And I told him that I would go through the whole process of what I do, just so that he can see what I'm doing. And so from getting a piece of paper. So I do have a limited space. I mean, I'm very happy with the space that I have, but I do need to try to contain it on my art desk. And my art desk also has to work for watercolor painting and things of that nature. So I always have to leave this kind of space clear. But I think I found what has worked. I got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes and organized stuff through that to get things more organized. So I will walk you through all that in a minute. But I am happy with how things got organized up because it was, to be honest, a bit of insanity, and I was mostly sitting on the floor, and I'm 52 years old, and that's just not gonna work. So I'm gonna set this up here for a minute. So this is my cutter. I've had this cutter forever. I use it to cut watercolor paper, just anything you need to cut. I use it to cut. It is a Fiskars. Some things I like a Fiskars, some things I don't. This is one of the things that I do really like that I have. I do not like their corner rounders, but I've had bad experience with the corner rounders. So this is the first thing that I use. Because I don't have a lot of space, I really don't want to store paper squared off like this. Excuse me. The book that I am working through is a Lumomi. And so I just need paper to fit in the size of this book, right? I don't need it any bigger than the size of the book. Which, for the pages, for me, if you're using this particular book, is 8 1/4 by 5 1/2 is about a perfect fit. There's a little bit of line between them or on the edges, but if I go any further than I'm trying to trim it, it works for me. So that's what I'm cutting everything. If I get any paper in that I know I'm using for this, which is really all the scrapbook paper, then I'm breaking it down as soon as I get it so that it can get put away, and it can be stored in a way that is more conducive than 12 by 12s. So what I do is, if it has these little tags on it, obviously I take that off. I start to make a big pile of mess. Then I'm always thinking about which way I want it to go lengthwise, which this one I think I want to go this way. And then so I have the 8 and the 1/4. And so I make sure that it is lined up there, and I cut that. Then I should put those out of the way. I'm not usually doing it right here. I'm trying to make it so it fits in the, usually this truthfully is done on the floor, but that's okay. We're going to try to do it in here. And then I cut it in 2 5 1/2. So a 12 by 12 makes me 2 full sheets. And I might break these down. I may not use both of these as full sheets, but this way it stores well. If I want to do a full spread like this, I can. But then if I want to cut it and break it down further, I can as well. So I definitely keep these little strips. They are so nice for making stripes and things like that. Then this I also cut to 8 1/4. Because again, I really can't use it any longer, but I might want to use it on the outer or inner edge of the page. So I cut that down. So then I have this, I have little scraps, and then I have 2 pages of like full pages here. So then I'll show you what I do with that in a second. Let me just go ahead and break these out. This paper is so soft. Like, this is like real cotton bookbinding paper. I believe that Joann's now has a new line, or where they're doing like big pieces for people that do like bookbinding and stuff. And so I just had to try a piece of it. So I'm breaking that off. You can just see it's nice cotton paper. It's probably good archive paper. Slicing that off. Oops. This is, yeah, it's like paper. It's like cottony paper. I love it. But I should have pushed a little harder. I might need new blades too. I use this a lot to cut, obviously, watercolor paper, which is quite thick. So now I have 2 cool, I love the ripped offness of that. And then again, I'm going to do the same thing. And this is more so that this fits in my boxes well for organizing, but also I can't really use this for anything more than that. So there's just no need for me to do so. So then that page is done, and of course so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this and process this, and all of the, I think I have a couple other papers to do, and then I will come back and show you how I am organizing it. And I just put that away. It goes right next to my table. It's always there for watercolor painting. So I got these, just these, you know, I looked at sort of some ideas of how I could store this, all the stuff, because I wanted it kind of separated off, but I didn't want it to cost an arm and a leg. And so I found these like cardboard, heavy cardboard boxes. I think they're like for photo boxes is what they're technically for. But it's the right size to fit the paper as I have it broke down, and it stacks really nice over there with a little bit of arranging, and doesn't get in the way of my the way that I have my watercolor set up, which, you know, I don't know if I can bend this a bit. I have my watercolor pans over there that I like. I didn't want any of that to move, and so so it all worked out, and it was quite a cheap. I want to say each one of these was maybe $3. So I have one here that has just like tools, I guess. A little distressed ink. I have, this is a pen for the little Cricut thing, which I'll talk about later. A glue stick, which I despise. Water sprayer, although I have those around me anyways. This is for these rulers, which I'll show you in a minute. Some little letter stencils that I had, and some texturizing stencils, which I really love, and blah, 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 right? Here's a couple stamps too that I have. So just kind of miscellaneous tools is what I have in there. And that stays on top, so then I can throw my scissors in there. It ends up usually on the top, but it also can set right over here, because I'm generally not watercolor painting at the same time as I am doing paper crafting, so it works out. The next box has sort of bits and bobs, I don't know, ephemera. It has like little things that I have, you know, cut out that I could use on something. It's got stickers. These are little tiny like flowers and mushrooms and things like that. These are like paper. Dropping a little moon from cutting something else out. So it's just like, and these are small bits. I actually have a project in mind for those for the center page. These are to put for flaps for writing and stuff like that. And I have different sizes of those over here. So it's just bits and bobs, paper bits and bobs. That's how I call it. So then I have three. Let's see, it's really hard to kind of set this so that I can show everything that I want here. So I have three paper things. These could actually go in here. Those are ribbons. But, and they are sort of by degree of breakdown. So these right here are full cut to the size of my pages of the journal. These are the full length so that I can use them for, you know, straight, you know, I might want to stick it straight down the side and have room for writing, or stick it in the middle and have a room for writing. So it's a full size or a little bit longer. So it will fit the full length of the journal, but it's not a full page size, and up to even just larger pieces. So fully cut, those extra ones, and then these are just scraps, and I love these scraps because they're really great for things like strips, stripes, even in the winter one. That's what made me think of making like these birch trees over here. little strips of stuff over here just for accenting. I think those are the only ways I've used it so far, but those are really handy to use for, you can stick one in here. So for example, because these aren't done, right? These are just sort of the primary thing is done. And so say I could want to have where I can write some information. So I can make a flap, kind of fancy the edges up, maybe stick this because this is paper that's actually behind here, like that. And then maybe put white sheet on the back to be able to write, and then make a flap to be able to keep crystal notes, because this is kind of my crystal page. Actually really like that. I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to leave those out. Or I could even, slide in another piece of blue. Like it's really, cut some of that off. It's really great for layering and making great little layered effects there. I'm going to keep those out of there because I kind of like that. But anyways, that's why I keep these scraps. If it's big enough to, scrap it, even these skinny ones, like something like that is cool because again, you can make a cool stripe. I just keep them because I feel like you can use them for something. So that's kind of the three, sizes that I have it by. So then I take my papers, and these are obviously scraps, and I'm gonna organize these. So let me do this. These are pages, but I'll show you how I have them organized. Let me do this. So let me just put all this stuff into here from breaking things down today. Like, oh, that's going somewhere. I want to use all of that because it feels amazing. And that and that. So I do have this one over here is somewhat organized by size, just how wide out it goes, so that I can get a skinnier piece and onto the biggest pieces that I have there. So that's kind of organized that way. But then this over here is organized. I just put in, and I don't know if you're gonna be able to see, I put in these little tabs here, and all it is a piece of paper, and this just kind of sits on top. And so I have light color tone, medium tone, and dark tone, and then the very back are just straight colored cardstock. So for example, that is a dark tone to me. Again, everybody's going to do this different. This is a light tone. It could be mid-range. This is probably still dark to me. This would be mid-range, and this would be dark. So I'm not going to do it because I don't want to drop all of my papers. But I will just set those in there. Make sure that I put the little tab back. Again, it's just a piece of cardstock that I cut so that it will stick out from there. And then I'll stick my midtones in. And then I have my light tones. And that just helps, if I'm looking for a darker tone, or I'm looking for a lighter tone, or if I'm looking for straight cardstock, I should probably put another piece of cardstock in there so that I can flip right back to the blank cardstock, although it's pretty easy to feel because it's a thicker cardstock. But I'll probably put a third tab in there to do that. So that way it's just all organized, and then this just sits on the top just because. And I guess if I throw something in here, it won't get messed up. So I know you can't see all of these in the thing, but that's how I organize them. This is the heaviest because it's got all the paper. So I just set that down first to the bigger pieces. My Libra brain comes in. See, I need to buy no more paper. Look at all these scraps. Now again, I did use paper for other projects, so I did have some scraps already, but still. And that all the way to the lightest, which are the bits and bobs, and then to the tools, which I just keep on the top. So that is how I organize it. Now these are some pages that I kind of know what I want to do with, which we'll talk about in a minute. I do have these, a couple of these that I haven't broke down just because they're in these pads, and I probably should go ahead. These are not the right size. Like I could never use this for like a full pad. Oh, I could, but I would have to layer something else on top of it, like a blank piece. So I could put it in, I could cut it to the 5.5, and then just know that I'd have to layer it, and that would allow me to break this down. But for right now, I'm just leaving these in the tablets, and just kind of, they just slide in back there. So yeah, that's kind of how I have everything organized, and it's far better. Like these first few pages, I've just mostly been done on the floor. I did this one, I finished this one and did this one last night. So let's just, while we're sitting here, let's just see. I like this site, but what I'm gonna have to do though is cut a piece of, and I may want to cut out a circle pattern or some kind of a pattern in here, but I've already got a pattern here, so probably not. So I'll probably do something like this. I've got to get a piece of white. Like I don't want that to go all the way up, so I'll snip some of that off. But I think I'll leave some extra because I'm probably going to round off the cup, because I have a lot of roundiness here. So I think I'm going to make these edges all roundy. And I might cut this off a little bit more. And then I'll turn this into a writing flap. And that way I can make notes about my favorite crystals and properties and things like that. So that's kind of why I have that out. You just saw that and figure I knew I wanted to do something over here, but I like that it's just a flap because I want to leave this open for putting a card on. Anyways, these two I did here, and I was like, oh, this is so much better. The rest of these I did either on my divination table or on the floor because it was a mess. So yeah, so that's how I process through the and how I have things organized, and how I process through getting paper and have it organized. Again, this was kind of for a friend, but I thought some people might kind of want to see where things are at here, or how I'm organizing things. I can't remember if I ended this or not, so if I forgot to, thank you for watching. It was a lot of fun to just kind of work through everything and how everything is organized, and so I appreciate you going along with me.